We've got a very special surf report this week. We have a lunar eclipse to talk about in Pisces. We also have a rare kite formation that spans about 2 weeks. It starts this week, and it really overlays nicely over the eclipse, or sets up the eclipse energy. So this surf report from the 12th to the 18th of September is a very powerful one. So let's go. Let's go surfing now. Here is our overview chart of the influence. We're going to do another triangulation for the solution. In other words, here's the energy, here's what to expect to feel, and here's what other people are going to probably feel, just generally. And then we can hopefully get a better idea for how people might act based on that. But we all have our free will. And then we just have suggestions then on the primary behaviors to focus on in order to succeed through this energetic minefield. All right, so here we are. A lot more than just a lunar eclipse and a kite formation, but those really are the key components. I even put the diagram in here. This small part of the kite right here we have been talking about starting last week. And this is the piece that's running with the retrograde far out planets, slow planets, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus, and it spans the rest of 2024 well into December of 2024. So we have that piece that's enduring, and then this kite then that starts with the sun at the pinnacle, but then will transition over to Mercury because Mercury's transiting with sun through Virgo. And then we'll take over kite duties. But this kite, this axis on Neptune and the sun, will end up being the axis for the lunar eclipse, or very close to it. So that's really cool. It's a full moon, full supermoon, harvest moon, partial lunar eclipse in Pisces conjunct with Neptune. And you put the kite and the eclipse energies, two totally separate energies, and you get repairing the damage. It's very clear. And the I-Ching does it really well. The Dreambot, not a whole lot of changes. I'll note for you what has changed, but Uranus is a big part of the technology. There's a heavy component of reset, and that's this small area on the kite, not including the kite, but this is the retrograde in my opinion. The reset meme in the Dreambot is about this thing that I mentioned with the retrograde planets, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus. And then we have heavy amounts of agreements. And this is everything to do with Venus. Venus just happens to be in home of Libra. And the eclipse in Pisces brings us all together. So you have both of those. And you get agreements, and that's definitely overlaid with the eclipse. We have, the whole kite thing and repairing the damage. So, in my opinion, it all combines down into collective repair efforts. All right, so let's get started ASAPly. It's always good to reward Milos for his enduring presence week after week from far, far away. Shout out to Milos for winning the best comment. And if you could, go down into the show notes or go down into the comments. And this is how the best comment award works, is that you vote for which comment you like the most. You don't even have to provide a comment, but it's nice if you do because it helps the algorithm. I don't sit here and beg for subscribers and likes and follows and all that. So that's how we do it around here. All right, here's the Dreambot. And instead of going through that same mess, there's a lot of the same words: anonymous, acknowledge, continuing, agreement, email, and the technology stuff. Now, if we watch, which we need to watch the surge scale numbers, these words are staying at the same level. So in other words, their new baseline is being established. So they're going to be here for a little bit longer. But these newer words start bubbling up through this rearranging of their baselines. And that is oak. We saw that last week. House is a big thing in the collective, and through. So you can make that what it is. September is definitely the top word is September. That makes sense. It's still early in September, but the surge score is coming down nicely as it is expected to. All right, one thing to mention in this diagram, this sort of highlights or reviews this eclipse cycle that started on April 8th this year. That was the new moon total solar eclipse in Aries. And so all these new moons and full moons were in service of the eclipse that was ruled by Aries. And now we've gone through the whole zodiac, and we end our eclipse cycle with the last sign, Pisces, and it's a full moon. So new moons start the sequence and full moons end the sequence. And that's not the only cycle. We'll talk about the other one on the eclipse. But the next new moon eclipse, total solar eclipse, will be October 2nd. And that will be ruled by Libra. So we'll have a new cycle coming up shortly in a couple of CIRF reports. But this one, this CIRF report is entirely in the energy window of number 14, ends on the 26th. So we got a couple more weeks here. At the end of this CIRF week is just denoted by these vertical lines. We have the full moon lunar eclipse on September 17th/18th, depending on where you are in the world. There's a lot here that we'll talk about in another format. Energy on the 26th, the energy window will switch now to the Magellan of the collective tempest. In other words, we need the wisdom from the collective, and the archetype is this old general that's been through all of it and knows the ins and outs of how to navigate this storm. And then that energy window starts on the 26th. So you got two elements. You've got kind of a stormy energy, and you also have the wisdom to navigate it in that. All right, this now is just this week, starting with Thursday. This red line is the only line, and you notice it stair steps up. The reason why it doesn't start at 0 is because of that retrograde 3 planets that has been there for a while. That's represented here, and it's the rebuilder, rebuilding with what you can imagine. And then the kite develops. And then from the kite, the axis for the eclipse comes between Tuesday and Wednesday, or Tuesday evening for kind of Western United States, and then east of the United States, you've got starting on Wednesday is the eclipse. So that's why it stair steps up. All right. The beginning of the week is different than the end of the ending of the week is highly focused on the eclipse. So the beginning, we're going to include, there's a lot of really tight alignments here, and I'm going to go through them one by one. This energy is mainly just for the first part of our CIRF week. So Thursday the 12th at 5:52 a.m. Central Daylight Time. This goes exact. Sun in Virgo, Jupiter in Gemini. So that's the tightest alignment, obviously, on the 12th of September. But then we have Mars oppose Moon, very tight, just 2 minutes away. So that's almost exact. We have a very tight Mercury sextile Mars, just, a few minutes off. And we have Mercury trine Moon. And so overall, you put all those main ones together and you get the studious explorer. This combination suggests someone whose thirst for knowledge and growth, that's here with Jupiter in Gemini. is often at odds with their practical perfectionistic side. It's because Sun and Mercury both in Virgo. They feel emotionally torn between their drive to achieve, that's the moon in Capricorn, and their sensitive, nurturing instincts, Mars in Cancer. Yet these same contrasts can make them deeply insightful and able to see multiple perspectives. They are the studious explorer, disciplined and detail-oriented, but also adaptable and forever curious about the world. There's your picture as he's planning his exploring through a book and a map. All right, Friday, we're going to spend this description just talking and reminding you about this, which is going to end up being the small part of the kite, but the kite's not quite there yet. We're getting close. We have Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. We talked about this last week. It's the triplet in green. They're all in retrograde, slow planets. We have a tendency to dream big because it's the visionary architect. This is the creator. And it might be more called the re-creator because of these retrogrades. All these planets in this alignment are in retrograde. Tendency to dream big, tap into spiritual and imaginative realms, and then ground these visions into practical, tangible reality, mainly with Uranus and Pluto in Earth signs. So we have a blend of creativity, innovation, and discipline, but also big change and transformation. And then Saturday, you can see that the kite is not quite there yet, but now it starts on Sunday the 15th. I've bolded this. It's very obvious. Now, the highlight of the kite is that you have an opposition, and this main opposition is the same one that's going to be very closely aligned to the eclipse. You have Sun in Virgo, 22 degrees, Neptune at 28 degrees of Pisces. And so you have the slow planet rebuilder, transformation and change. And then you have the vivacious visionary with it's basically a grand earth trine, which then put those together, get a kite. But I'm not going to be talking about the kite until tomorrow. We'll focus on that because this one day, on Sunday the 15th, you have another grand trine. This is a grand air trine. You have Moon, Venus, Jupiter. And this is the vivacious visionary. The grand air trine represents someone who embodies both style and substance, their natural charm and social ease. That would be Venus in Libra, is enhanced by their lively intellect and gift of gab, which is Jupiter in Gemini. Emotionally, they require freedom and march to their own beat. That's Moon in Aquarius. This combination makes them the vivacious visionary, artistic yet cerebral, graceful yet provocative, able to inspire others with their unique vision of what could be. So even though the kite starts today, just because of space, and pictures, I'm going to talk about the kite now. So this is the second day of the kite. It's Monday the 16th. Sun is now in 24 degrees of Virgo. So this kite's getting a little tighter, more pronounced. We have the grand air trine is pretty much gone and waning out. That was quick because it was the moon and the faster moving planet of Venus. But this kite, a little bit about this kite, started yesterday on the 15th, on Sunday of September, and it's going to go to the 28th of September. But a little shift is going to happen on this pinnacle. Right now, the pinnacle of the kite is on Sun. You can see how fast-moving Mercury is going to become, the pinnacle and take over duties of the point man of the kite. So we have the different players. Sun trine Pluto. This aspect, remember, is on a grand Earth trine, But Sun trine Pluto is the power and purpose, laser focused willpower and practical transformation, earth based. And then we have stability and progress. Might be more stability versus progress, because we have to balance out Uranus in Taurus, which is Uranus is more in the air and technical side of things, and technology, inventing, change. And Taurus is not change, so he's in a foreign land, and so there is this rubbing raw, and Uranus has to do much harder work, and so his work is going to be seen in the earth plane. And that's just the way it is, balancing tradition and innovation. We have materialism, change how we relate to the world. Then we have illusion and intuition. This is what we talked about with the Neptune. Overall, for the kite itself, you get the visionary builder. We've heard this before, haven't we? In Dreambot's past, this is very Earth 2.0. The visionary builder, the kite formation, represents an energy that has the rare ability to make dreams tangible. You got the dreams in the small part of the kite, and then the main part of the kite is the grand Earth trine. So, the earthy practicality of the Sun in Virgo, Pluto in Capricorn, and Uranus in Taurus grounds the imaginative, boundary-dissolving energy of Neptune in Pisces. This is the visionary builder. And you get to see the kite formation still, but the dreamy Neptune is building for the practicality of the grand Earth trine. So you may feel powerful manifesting abilities. Thoughts become things. Can be a force for positive change, both personal and collective. So this is the big part of their collective repair efforts. But the repairing needs a healer. And so here we go. Harvest, full supermoon, partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. She is right here, and she is 3 degrees away from Neptune. So pretty much right on that kite axis. Kite is still there. You can see it outlined here, grand Earth trine, and then the 2 sextiles plus the opposition. It's a double opposition. Sun opposed Neptune, Sun opposed Moon. You come down here for the declinations, and we have Sun contra-parallel Moon, which is the way it exactly has to be in order to have an eclipse. But the eclipse itself, we have the Sun in Virgo. It's the biggest energy of any chart. And this is discerning, health-focused, seeks to perfect self. And then we have the full supermoon, partial lunar eclipse. This is heightened emotions in Pisces, spiritual revelations, the energy of letting go. And then we have Neptune, the fantasy and togetherness in Pisces, idealizes connection, fantasizes for soul threads. So overall, what you get in the eclipse, at the eclipse, is the sacred healer. And we have, I got to move this picture. We have the sacred healer archetype. Combination suggests a profound healing journey. The Sun in Virgo's drive for self-improvement meets the emotional intensity of the Piscean eclipse, bringing subconscious patterns to light for release. Why are we releasing these? Why are we sacrificing these? Because the moon pulls. And the bigger the moon is, the more it pulls. It's a full moon at the eclipse. It's a partial lunar eclipse. So it makes it more powerful. And because the moon is also closer to the earth, it appears to be even bigger, which makes it a supermoon. And the Moon-Neptune conjunction infuses relationship with a sense of divine love and connection, but may also signify illusions surfacing in order to be cleared, as well as deep subconscious patterns. the person becomes a sacred healer through a willingness to face their own shadows with compassion and grace. So with this partial lunar eclipse in Pisces, we'll have a deep capacity for unconditional love and forgiveness. We'll have heightened intuition and psychic sensitivity. Some of you already have that sensitivity. Well, this goes even more sensitive. And if you're extremely sensitive, I wouldn't be shocked if you're already feeling this eclipse energy, the sacred healer energy. The downside, something to be cautious for, is to not take on all the other emotional burdens as your own. Could get lost in escapism too, and spiritual bypassing, so avoid that. Now, some technical aspects of this eclipse. First of all, who's going to be seeing this eclipse? And it's going to start on the western side of this window. I don't know if you can see that this different coloring, but the darkest color is the umbral partial lunar eclipse, and the western half of Europe and Africa will be able to see that the maximum, or they call it the greatest eclipse. So it's still partial, even it's not a total lunar eclipse. And then on the central to east side of the Americas and all of South America, you'll be able to see it. And if you're on the west side of America, then you're just going to get a partial of the penumbral eclipse and won't see the greatest eclipse. So there's that. And these are all readily available, these charts online. How long is this thing going to last? Well, 246 minutes for most of us. That's a little over 4 hours. And basically the moon will be in the Earth's dark shadow for the partial eclipse for only about an hour. In New York, for example, on 17 September, that starts at the partial anyway. The partial eclipse starts at 10:12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and they call it the greatest eclipse. This is where the Earth, the actual umbral shadow, takes out a tiny little portion of the moon. I can show you the image here. So you can even have the time. And this is in the penumbral shadow. Shouldn't put the cursor over it. And that's right there is where you get the Earth shadow taking out a little tiny sector. And you can find this easily online too and put your location in there as well. The last thing I'll say about this cycle is that there's a thing called Saro, and I might be pronouncing it incorrectly, or Saro, Saro cycle. And this is more of an astronomy term, but it basically takes any eclipse, in this case a lunar eclipse, and you add 18.03 years to it, and you get about 8 hours later on that day, you get the same similar eclipse. So I've verified that, just learning about these Saro cycles. So the last eclipse on this Piscean cycle is September 7th, 2006. So whatever you were doing on September 7th, 2006, go recall that. This is the last similar Piscean eclipse, and it was conjunct with Uranus, so probably more change-oriented, but nonetheless in Pisces. So you might be able to get that same energy of whatever was happening on that day on, you might see that similar on 17 September. That's 18.03 years from the last Saro eclipse. All right, and then on Wednesday, last day of our CIRF week, we have Mercury oppose Saturn. Obviously, it's not the only thing happening. We've talked about everything else. We have the kite still. We have the eclipse energy still conjunct with Neptune. This is at 3:50 a.m., And I thought it was interesting because the opposition, Mercury and Saturn, goes exact when both of them are exactly 15 degrees, 15 minutes. So a lot of 15s in there. And this becomes the discerning mystic, because you have Saturn in Pisces represents a dynamic tension between the rational, Mercury in Virgo, and the mystical. Mercury in Virgo wants to dissect, categorize, perfect, while Saturn in Pisces wants to dissolve boundaries and surrender to a greater wisdom. This challenge with the energy is to become a discerning mystic who learns to balance critique with compassion, skepticism, and faith. All right, let's get into the I-Ching. That's 18, change line 1. When something is rotting, it's time to repair. Well, folks, it is rotting for sure. Line 1 says excessive reliance on tradition may have produced some corruption. Thank you, Uranus in Taurus, for, in these last lots of months when Uranus has been in Taurus and transiting, it has been showing us this shearing. Uranus hates tradition, but Taurus loves tradition. And so it's been a big focus on, should we just change things or should we keep things the same? And so the energy of Hexagram 18, change line 1, is a sense of inheritance. And this is not necessarily a good thing. The first line speaks of dealing with the mistakes or corruption of one's father. And then father is just an image there. It's basically responsible for problems that we didn't produce. It wasn't us, but we now become responsible for those problems. Possible resentment or burden might be present, duty to correct past wrongs. All of us are probably feeling that, I would think, at least at a grand collective scale, if not on a personal scale. We also have uncertainty. We have moral dilemmas, hope, growing confidence, increased sense of power. All right, let's summarize the influence and then get you some solutions. First, here's the influence. We have the supermoon. Oh, man, it's going to be beautiful. Big, apparent to Earth. Extreme, unique energy this week is an astrological kite formation, and it establishes its key axis that will later become the opposition in the lunar eclipse. This week hosts a powerful full supermoon in Pisces that is underlaid by an Earth-based kite formation. Overall, it's the visionary builder and the sacred healer that meet at the partial lunar eclipse, 17th, 18th of September, depending on where you live. You'll have a healing presence combined with motivational energy, imaginative power grounded in practical action, and intuitive attunement balanced with critical thinking. All right, now, oh, you know what? Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, not too big of a deal, eh? There's your full chart if you wanted to take a snapshot of that. And now, let's get back to our solution. Put the change line in and you get hexagram 26, containment of potential. This is a very powerful inference on our behavior. You have considerable resources of energy to support and draw upon. So now we're looking for behaviors for this hexagram: restraint and self-discipline. We want behaviors that accumulate energy, focus on building up your resources, knowledge, and strength. Leadership through example is part of this. Show determination in pursuing your goals. Avoid extremes in behavior. And make sure you handle power responsibly. Can you get the idea? This kite and eclipse is very powerful. This list of behaviors implies there's going to be a lot of power at hand. So we gotta recognize that in our solutions, and it did. Here's the kite. Here's our conversion chart. It's going to be the moon is the focus here, and it's in hexagram 6 of the Rave Mandala. That's human design, and it's in Sidereal Virgo. Now, starting with the Rave, we have Hexagram 6, Gate 6. It's the fundamental design component of progress, the law that growth cannot exist without friction. So, line 4 is where the eclipse takes place. It's called Triumph. It's the line of triumph. Man, that sounds like a direct correlation with the energy window of Earth 2.0, right? Triumph, a position on natural and unchallengeable power. Unchallengeable power. What do you suppose that is? I'm thinking awareness and Great Awakening, which might be the same thing. The charity and wisdom that must come with victory and the movement towards new horizons. The power of emotions to dominate a relationship. The downside to this line is the conqueror and perjurer. It's not perjure in terms of court. It's to purge. The lack of emotional control that is destructive in relationships. So relationship is key. And because we are all in a relationship by merit of being on Earth, we are going to dominate that relationship. And you can make of it what it is, but the Great Awakening says that we will inherit the Earth. All right, ready for the solution? Here we go. Just a reminder of what we're triangulating. I-Ching 26, containment of potential. It implies that we have a lot of power to use. This is a quiet containment of that potential. So you're not just impulsively just spraying and doing a bunch of impulsive things and escaping. You're containing it. And then we have the Rave. It's triumph. We need to make sure we win. When we win, we have charity and wisdom that must come with the victory, else we lose it. And then we have Virgo as a sidereal, and we have the full supermoon, partial lunar eclipse. So the sources for this triangulation are obviously verifying the tremendous amount of power and energy available to us. Furthermore, we must use this powerful energy very Virgo-esque, so judiciously, thoughtfully, modestly, discriminately, and with great charity and wisdom. Do not underestimate the power behind each and every thought and each and every emotion this week. Watch carefully your highly subconscious urges and avoid escapism like the plague. Because if you escape a thought, for example, it doesn't mean the thought goes away. It means it goes into the subconscious, so it's still running as you're doing something maybe mundane like driving. So we're going to need to be doing something a little bit different, and I've got these outlined here. I want to recommend that you don't avoid any thoughts, avoid any emotions. That's where escapism comes from, and that's where you will waste your yang power that you're supposed to be containing here. I recommend this week using the human battery concept. I remember a long time ago in our CIRF reports where I talked about this. But basically, you're going to take the energy. Each emotion is an energy, and a lot of it's chaotic. So like anger is very motivating, but it's also very unpredictable because it's so motivating. So what we want to do is use the human battery, organize that energy, and then channel it into something more useful, practical, and value-based. At the eclipse, get ready to ceremoniously conclude several cycles and offer up sacrifice of any limiting belief that is holding you back from your true power. Remember, the moon takes, the sun gives. And it's times like these where the moon is close to Earth, it's big, it's full, it's at an eclipse, and hardly any of this full moon is eclipsed. And so it is a vacuum cleaner for all the things that you would like to offer. Therefore, I'm recommending offering and sacrificing your limiting beliefs. and holding you back from your true power. This will feed into the I-Ching 26, containment of potential, and then go into the human battery. As you let go of limiting beliefs, now you have hopefully more empowering beliefs in its place. And you can foster the human battery by meditating on the energy that's within you. And then where your attention goes, the energy follows. And so I basically just create a highway, an imaginary highway on the front side of my body, come up the back like the Kundalini pathway on the spine, come over the head. And basically you're just imagining these different points. And as you're meditating on this, the energy follows to those points. You can go slow, you can go fast. But as it's moving, it's organizing that potentially chaotic energy. Once you have it organized, now it's easier to maintain it. Now you're just in a higher energetic state. This is the I-Ching 26, is what it's talking about. Now I get to use it however I want to, and in very discriminately form or way, Virgo-esque. We're going to be using it judiciously, thoughtfully, modestly, discriminately. You can tag this energy with maybe a task that you'd like to do, right? Because you've already sacrificed the limiting beliefs, the SuperMoon. Now the kite is still there, and the three amigos, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus, still change and transformation. The kite's still there for the rest of September, basically. And the retransformation of Neptune and those three planets are going to be there the rest of the year. So high amounts of creative potential, and that's why you need this human battery, so that you're not wasting the energy and you're maximizing your empowerment. All right, we have one more thing to talk about, and that is brought to you by Sean Elizabeth Nelson. So we want to thank her for her work, and this is, if you want to take a snapshot of this so that you can read the whole thing about the Southern Cross, the constellation there, and why that matters. But she brought to us this week the jasmine flower, flowers of the moon. The jasmine flower, or gift from God, is known around the world for its exotic, almost intoxicating scent. A staple in aromatherapy for centuries, it is used to calm, purify, relieve stress, and attract abundance. The flavonoids, chemicals that induce a taste-smell experience consumed by drinking jasmine tea, protect from oxidative stress and free radicals. Jasmine, being directly associated with the moon, carries the element of water and is the flower of the goddess Aphrodite. Energetically, jasmine can bring prophetic dreams, induce surrender, and invite clarity. The frequency of jasmine brings a harmonizing effect as well as a magnetizing effect for humans through lunar energy, and that magnetizing effect is perfect for the tropical Pisces supermoon. In the stellar nations cosmology, the four fixed stars of the Southern Cross constellation each represent an aspect of the divine primeval essence. The four stars encode the principles of the Christ consciousness we experience and express as humans. The four principles are divine love, divine law, divine mercy, and divine will. So the jasmine flower and its scent and essence is an archway or portal to an understanding of the divine essence of the lunar eclipse in Pisces. She represents the journey of the Christ consciousness in all of us through water and the moon to the sun expressed by Virgo. Virgo is the expression and the embodiment of Earth, our mother, which can be experienced through smell or taste, integrated as codes. Virgo is also the sun sign of the Virgo Mary, expressed in the glyph of M, incorporated by the V. Dream, your highest creation dream. That's that the eclipse in Pisces, let the scent or taste of jasmine enlighten you, as the lunar eclipse of the moon, blessed by Pisces, fills humanity with divine essence and highest compassion. All right, there you go. If you want to experience the full aromatherapy of jasmine, or if you want to read more about the constellation from Sean's work, you can go ahead and take a snapshot of that. And then I'll leave you at this playbook. Here's our CIRF summary. The influence is on the top. It involves the kite and the eclipse and the creative power potential and the collective repair efforts. And then we want to contain the power. This is behaviorally, this is the best solution, because it got so much power indicated in every one of these modalities. So lots of power this week. Handle very carefully. Don't fear it. Lean into it. Don't fear each thought. Even though thoughts create things, lean into them, and awareness alone will make them comply more with your desire. If you fear it or judge the thought, it'll make it worse. You'll start ruminating, start obsessing, etc., etc. So don't give thoughts power by judging them. See them as thoughts. That's all they are. They're just thoughts. So the thought will create the energy. Go into the human battery concept. Contain your power. Then tag it. Tag that power for something that you want to do. You want to do a task. You want to do a goal of some sort. You just want to have more love and center it in the heart. You want to have spiritual gifts. Any one of those things you can tag with this power. Without power, you can't do anything. So don't waste your power. All right, that's all I have, everybody. This is a big week, obviously, and I don't want to underestimate the powers this week. Stay mindful, stay in love, stay in light, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, everybody.